Africa.
Good morning. My name is Eyal. I'm from Cape Town. I run a non-profit organization called Code for South Africa. And I'm going to speak about a topic which I think Eyal covered quite well. I just want to look at a slightly different perspective, which is South Africa. I think we have a different class of problems. And I would also like to make a case for not just that government should be open to citizens, but rather that citizens have an obligation to participate in democracy. Again, as Eyal said, not every 4 or 5 years, but every day. And so I'd like to give you some examples of the sort of work that we've been working on and experimenting with how we can make this happen. So the first example I want to show is just how information can provide power to citizens. First one is around medicine prices in South Africa. Medicine prices are regulated. There's a maximum price that you should be paying, but most people don't know about this. We built a tool which uses the official price register, which is found in an Excel spreadsheet somewhere lost on a government website, and we made it publicly accessible through a simple web application. What you can see here is, I know the writing is quite small, what you can do is you put in the name of your medicine and it will list all the medicines which match that description. In this case, I put in Lamictal, which is used for epilepsy and bipolar disorder. You can't see the writing, but the maximum price, the price that you pay is almost 800 Rand. But the question is there a cheaper price that you could be paying? So what you can do is find generics of that medicine. And you can't read it, but the lowest price generic is a quarter of the price. It has exactly the same active ingredient. And this is really important for a country where people, especially who earn a low income, spend a large percentage of their income on medicines. So what this tool has done is opened up your horizon, or at least the user's horizon, from a small number of medicines to a larger number of medicines, and that is the power of making information available so they can choose a better medicine. We received an email from a doctor who's talking about the tool. He says, I work in a mixed income neighborhood and being able to figure out what works for my patient's budget is extremely helpful. There's no point in prescribing medicine the patient cannot afford to buy. And I think that's very powerful. The fact that even a doctor realizes that not just choosing the most effective medicine, but also the medicine that a patient can afford is really important. But now I want to talk about sanitation, which is a big problem in my city, Cape Town. There's a slum called Khayelitsha, which is 30 kilometers away from the CBD. And there are 146,000 households who live in 437 informal settlements in Cape Town. Many of them have been around for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, but these citizens essentially often don't have access to basic sanitation facilities. So what we built is a tool. Here is a map. Each one of the colored areas is an informal settlement or a pocket of an informal settlement. What we can see is the age of the settlement. The darker colors are older settlements, so 15 to 20 years. In this case, the density. Here is the percentage of temporary toilets. The red areas are where there are 100% temporary toilets, and in many cases we have pockets of settlements which are considered to be temporary even though they've been around for a decade or two. You can get some more information about it. In this case, this is a specific area which has 79 households, 10 temporary toilets, that's 1 per 8 households, and it has been around for 20 years. The city refuses to make permanent sanitation facilities available because of multiple constraints. In this case, 30% of that land area is covered by a public road. We get some demographics, the age groups, the income. But the question is, we can have this discussion, and the tool was built so that civil society organizations and citizens can come to the table and speak with government and talk about these issues. This is my area. We only have 10 toilets. This is the income of people. These are the rights that they have. And this is a really, really important tool. But I think one component that we shouldn't forget when we look at these sorts of, look at the data and the tools where we have this discussion is the role of the actual individual. So if possible, could we play the video? What I'm going to show you now is a man who lives in an informal settlement. He is disabled. And he talks about the need for having toilets which are accessible to disabled people. If the video doesn't come through, I'll just use some screenshots.
I have to do my things on my own. If I'm not waking up, no one is gonna waking up for me. I'm Astandile. My name is Tratukaka. I'm living in informal settlement at Kosovo. So I was gunshotted at Eastern Cape by the Tsotsis. I know those people who did that to me. They only stayed 1 year behind bars. I'm using wheelchair. Yeah, it's not easy to live in Kosovo because of the streets. I can't use toilet without someone to assist me. The toilets in my area, they are only for able people, no toilet for disabled people. I have to ask my brother to fetch me from the wheelchair. So like I feel useless, I don't feel myself as if I don't feel comfortable. When there is no one at home, anything can happen. I can go myself. Because there's no one who's gonna help me to the toilet. I think City of Cape Town can increase more budget so that at least somehow we can feel equally disabled people and able people.
So the point that I want to make with the video is not the poor sanitation facilities that are available, but rather the voice of an individual citizen. We can look at the numbers, we can look at the poor quality of the facilities and the large number of temporary toilets, but if we don't speak with citizens, we don't know about the plight of disabled people. And I think what it is that's really important is to bring citizens to the table and have a real honest discussion. Maybe there's a good reason why sanitation facilities can't be provided, but we need to speak. And we need to, everyone has an obligation to look to improve this gentleman's life and all of his neighbors. I was going to skip through some of these images. I took them just in case the video wouldn't have worked. The question is, what about the data illiterate? It's very important to have an informed discussion, and data is a really important component of it. But many people don't understand numbers, they don't understand graphs, they might be innumerate, they might be illiterate. How do we deal with that sort of situation? We worked with an organization called Black Sash. They were helping communities to advocate for better services at health clinics, at social security agencies. Now, if an individual person complains about waiting in a queue for 6 hours, they can be considered, they're complaining. If we survey their community and find that 400 people on average spend 3.5 hours in the queue, all of a sudden we have evidence, and we can start a real discussion. We took all of this information, we produced an infographic. Very, very simple. You can see in this image we had round tables where people were actually using the infographics to understand what's happening in their communities. These round tables included not just citizens and communities, but also the service providers, the health clinics. And they were discussing how do we improve, identifying what the major issues were and what we should be doing about it. Now the point here is the data is really important. Without the data, we're just talking about emotions. But also, it just facilitates discussions. The data isn't the main component. What it is, it aids and helps us really dig into what the main issues are. So I'm just going to flick through some tools that have been built, which I think are quite useful, and start to try to address some of these issues and open up government in a way that we can encourage citizens to become a lot more involved. I'm just going to flick through them very quickly because of time. First one is the National Treasury recently launched a fantastic tool which makes available local government budgets and makes it accessible to people who don't understand finances. We know about the audit outcome of a specific municipality, what the expenditure of that municipality is, where the money comes from, and the idea is encouraging citizens to find out where their taxes are going. And you can't see at the top, but not only do we have information, we also have the email address of the mayor and the phone number of the finance manager. And what's really important is now what we're saying, it's the message that we are open, we are ready for input. And we've already received dozens of emails going to the offices of various mayors and finance managers asking, why have we not provided toilets? Why have we not done this, that, or the other thing? Here's another example. It's really around what is the specific budget per ward. Money is being spent on libraries and roads, etc. If you want to speak with your ward councillor, this is information that's available. Again, a phone number, an email address, some information. Here's a great tool which invites the public to be involved in the budget, to have their say. What they did is that we provided the tool for them to engage, to find out what is in the budget, and to help them create an email which they could automatically send, or we would send on their behalf, to the Appropriations Committee so they can have their say. And what's important here is, and I think Orly mentioned it, it's hard to be an engaged citizen. It's difficult. How do you write this email? Well, let's help. Let's craft the email in such a way that it's easier for citizens to have their say without having to go through the entire process of writing a difficult business letter. Another tool which has been very successful is making available bylaws. It's surprising that in many cases it's very difficult to find the laws of your local city or municipality, much less being able to find a specific topic. So in this case, this is the website that has city bylaws. What you can do is you can search for a specific topic, in this case liquor. You'll find all the references to liquor and all the bylaws related to it. If you want to find out more about the liquor law, it goes directly to that law. I'm not going to go into the details, but we have received dozens of emails from people who are saying there's an illegal bar down the road and there's a lot of crime and noise, etc. What can I do about it? And making these laws available is really crucial in order to start answering those questions. Making gazettes available. Gazettes are currently only available in print format. So how do you find information about the laws that are enacted in the country and all the other really important publications or communication from government? Making those gazettes available online is really important. The same thing with bills. So just to conclude, I have a few take-home messages which we're busy exploring and we're trying to get our heads around. The first one is that we need more data. But open government is not about more transparency. Transparency by itself is not enough. Accountability is also not enough, because there the conversation is weighted in the sense that citizens are providing an oversight role. What we are advocating is an obligation on the part of citizens to sit at the table to discuss the issues, whether it is access to cheaper medicines or whether it's a disabled man in a wheelchair who is not able to access a disabled-friendly toilet. Data is important for dialogue, but it shouldn't dehumanize. That example with the wheelchair, it's really important not to just look at the numbers, but to speak with citizens. There we get a better insight in terms of what the problems are. And finally, I've mentioned this before, but citizens need to take responsibility. It is their obligation, not just that of government, to make sure that their cities, their communities are well run. Thank you very much.